All right, fantastic. All right, welcome everybody. I am Scott Oser with Scott Oser Associates, and I'm excited to have all of you join me today. I could have guessed this, and I think that we all know this, but membership is obviously a very important topic. We have over 300 people that have signed up to participate today. And I actually grew up as a membership person, and so this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I am one of those people who truly believes that membership is the heart of almost every association, whether it be trade or individual. So enough with me rambling. I know you guys did not come to hear that. So what I want to do is start with a little bit of housekeeping. I think many of us are very, very familiar with Zoom at this point, but just in case, at the bottom of the screen, there's a Q&A button and a chat button. And what we would prefer you do, I know this is not always easy to remember to do, but if you have questions, please, for the panelists, please put those in the Q&A. If you want to be engaged in conversation or you have any technical issues, please put those in the chat. So questions in the Q&A, technical issues or chatting or starting a conversation with your fellow attendees, please use the Q&A. Before we start, I want to let you know that this webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be available within 1 week on the issue roundup page. And unless someone at SIE tells me different, I'm guessing we'll probably receive an email about when that's available as well. So again, as I already started, we are here to talk about membership. I have been trying as hard as I possibly can to stay on top of everything that everybody has been doing and dealing with and being faced with in regards to membership since we started experiencing and dealing with COVID-19. So today, what we're going to do in the next hour is we are going to hear 3 unique experiences and examples of associations that have been very proactive in the face of this uncertainty. Each association has acted differently and in their own way, but one of the commonalities is they definitely acted quickly to respond, and they are trying to figure out what to do and then what to do next. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with a few case studies and a few examples from each of our panelists, who I would like to introduce to you now. With me today, we have Kari Bedell, who's the Executive Director of the George Washington Society of CPAs, Cohen, CAE, who's the Director of Membership Development at the American Nurses Association, and Lia Zegeye, Senior Director of Membership for the American Bus Association. As I mentioned, we're going to have each of our panelists talk a little bit, and then at the end, we're going to go into Q&A. So the panelists are going to take about 5 or so minutes to tell you what they've been doing, what they've been up to, way they've addressed their challenges, way they've changed, way they've succeeded and or failed in their efforts. And we did this very scientifically. We really took a very scientific approach to who was going to speak first, and we came up with alphabetical. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to introduce her again and let her start speaking. Here is Kari Bedell, the Executive Director of the Greater Washington Society of CPAs. Kari?
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. As Scott said, I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Washington Society of CPAs. We are a 3,300 member organization based in Washington, D.C. with membership that extends into suburban Maryland and Virginia. Our membership is CPAs and other financial leaders. We're local, so most of our engagement with members has historically taken place face-to-face because we're all geographically close together. So networking has always been a really big part of the value that we provide to our community. We're a small organization. We have a budget just under $2 million. We have a staff of 4. And I will note that all of the 4 of us are young women with young children at home, which is significant these days, more than it was before, because we're all home with kids out of school. So when COVID first hit in March, we were fortunate that we were really well poised for remote work. We had been moving into a co-working space as of last August. We gave up our long-term lease. So we had a very flexible work environment as it was. Well, we often worked remotely. So I would say that because we transitioned so easily, it allowed us to kind of jump on issues as they arose in the early stages of being at home so that we could kind of get out in front of issues for our members right away. which was fortunate for us. Now, a lot of our members are association leaders themselves. They're CFOs, many of them. So we could also understand their needs very well because we were going through the same things that they were. Initially, a lot of what we did centered around webinars that we produced for our members, educational content, guidance around event cancellation. Just like many of you, they were facing cancellations of major annual events, transitioning to telework. Eventually, that kind of shifted into guidance about PPP loans and things like that. More recently, kind of return to work kinds of topics. We transitioned all of our live events to online educational sessions, all of our committee meetings and the Zoom meetings. That has actually been really well received. It's allowed a lot of members who weren't able to participate before to start participating, whether that's because of distance or traffic or other commitments at work where they couldn't leave the office to come face-to-face to a meeting. So we're starting to see new participation from members that weren't really engaged before, which has been nice. We did set up a COVID resource page where we tried to compile relevant info. That was challenging because, like I said, we have a small staff. We were trying to cover multiple jurisdictions, and there was different information coming from all 3 jurisdictions. So it was complicated and difficult. The most significant thing we did, though, and I think the reason why I was invited to the call was that we had been about 75% of the way through development of an online member community. I know that's relatively behind a lot of our counterparts, but we were just about to launch a new member community. We were getting there. It wasn't quite ready yet. We had also been in the process of updating our logo and all of our branding and kind of taglines and everything that goes along with that, with a hope to launch all of that in May or so before we got ready for dues renewal. So even though we weren't quite ready, we decided that the resource itself was important enough and we were close enough that we launched that in March. It's a little bit messy, but our members were very understanding about that. It was a good resource for them. They started using it right away. It really took off in the first few weeks, especially, so that they could, ask each other questions. That took a lot of the burden off the staff. So I think taking that risk and jumping into something that we weren't, it wouldn't have been our preferred way of launching all of that, but I think taking that risk was really important for us. As far as membership goes for the coming year, I'm cautiously optimistic. But I will say, a lot of our members, both in public accounting firms and especially in nonprofits, are facing serious budget cuts. One of the first things to go is their discretionary spending around professional development, membership dues, that kind of thing. So, like I say, I'm cautiously optimistic. We launched dues renewal about 2 weeks ago. Our messaging did change around dues renewal, and the value that we're providing members has changed significantly because so much of our value previously, as I said, was face-to-face networking and engagement. So, we're having to change a little bit about how we present the value that we present to members. But I'm hopeful, and so far returns are that, we're doing as well, if not better, than we have in previous years, which is good. As far as other issues that we're facing right now, the most significant is that we have a large annual event ourselves. It's in December, which is lucky for us. We didn't have to face this issue yet, but we've decided to move it to 100% virtual and kind of make that call now, so that we can do that as well as we can with as much time as possible to plan for a virtual event. I think we'll do well with registration. I'm confident about that, but we're really struggling to figure out how we're going to get sponsorship revenue in. It's a significant part of the revenue for that event, and I think our sponsors are coming back, but they're certainly not coming back at the level that they have been at in previous years. So that's going to be a significant challenge for us. Overall, though, even though we were used to face-to-face engagement, I think the fact that we developed those relationships in collaboration with members a lot face-to-face over time before this has helped us to kind of shift into a virtual environment and rely on those trusting relationships to kind of keep us all together and move forward. So we'll see what happens with dues, but I think the engagement of those who are committed to the organization has never really been stronger. And so that's a good thing for us. And I'll yield my time to the next.
Thanks, Carrie. I appreciate that. And your brevity, which is fantastic. For those who know me, brevity is not always my strong suit. And I know we had mentioned you guys were going to, our plan was that the panelists would talk back to back to back. I'm going to throw a little bit of curveball and keep you guys on your toes a little bit, because we are not being overloaded with questions right now. And again, this is for you guys. So, not the panelists, the attendees. So please ask any questions you have and I'll funnel through them. But I think the question that just came up from Mike Kuntz at the San Diego County Dental Society, hi Mike, I think is going to be applicable to all you guys. So I want to throw it out there. Mike asked, what happens in your online community and how are you using it? And so, Carrie, I'll let you answer. And then Carol, Lia, if you guys have any input on that as well, please share, because I think that that is something that associations always question and try to figure out, and especially right now.
Sure, thanks. It's still pretty new to us, and what people have mostly been using it for so far is that, you know, the majority of our members are either CFOs or they're CPAs who are advising organizations that are going through challenging times. So it's mostly been people posting a question because there's not been a lot of clarity coming from SBA or from other organizations about details around COVID relief packages and things like that. So they tend to be kind of technical questions so far. Although there were a few, you know, early on, there were a few just kind of generally supportive comments of other members, people talking about taking care of each other's mental health, things that are not typical for our community, you know, for our membership to be talking about. So some support, but mostly it's technical questions right now.
Fantastic. And before I let everybody else answer, which I want everybody else's input, a follow-up question came up, Carrie and Carol and Lia, you guys can answer this too, is what software are you using for your online community? What service are you using?
We use Senji. It's a small company based in North Carolina. And the reasoning for that was that people could respond from their email and didn't have to log into a separate portal.
Fantastic. All right. Do we want to let Lia go first and go out of alphabetical order for a second?
There you go. All right, so I work for ABA, American Bus Association, and we serve pretty much the motor coach industry and the tour and travel industry. We serve operators, tour operators, bus operators, the travel industry, such as attractions and lodging and restaurants and you name it, you know. We also have products and service suppliers. So we pretty much represent anyone who has a stake in the travel and tour industry. And so in doing that, as you know, 100% of our membership has been hit with this crisis. And they have motor coaches sitting in the parking lot because nobody's taking a tour right now. No one is going on vacation. And they're not coming through to the hotels, to the lodging, all of our members. So our presence really has been so important. It's been really the main focus has been our members. So here's what we've done. Because of the COVID crisis, we changed the way we communicate. And that's the number one thing. The way we communicate with our members have completely changed. We made the decision that a little bit early on to make sure that our members are only getting COVID-related communications. And as you know, even in that, there's quite a lot to digest as all of the events unfold. So we went through that and we made sure our partners, as far as affinity program partners, they're not sending out anything directly to our members, soliciting or selling anything because they really don't have anything to give at that point. All they need is really help. So we did that. We created a special newsletter like most people did as well, but that went to all of our members on a daily basis. And it was almost like a briefing that they get on a daily basis. And the members we spoke to they've been looking forward to that communication. And an important aspect of this, I would say, I know most companies, or some companies might hire a third-party company to make the calls just in the beginning of this crisis. What we have done, our CEO actually made sure that all staff members are communicating with members. We divided the list, the membership list, and communicated with over 3,000 members. We call each and every one of them. And that's really, when you hear their pain, when you hear what's happening in each and every company, you have a completely, you know this is a bad crisis, but when you talk to them, I think the picture that you see in your mind, you know this is a long-lasting problem, but also you know exactly what they need and what they need now. So that has been really eye-opening, but also it's been, in a positive note, I guess it's been a way to establish relationships, right? And you know whatever that information they're looking for that specific week, if it's the PPP information, as soon as you see something you want to share with them. So it's been really important to communicate with them during that time. We also created a microsite, all things COVID related, because as you know, when you start adding up all the information on your website, it's a little too much. You need to organize it in such manner. So we created several different pockets there focusing on their business. So we dedicated that, and the subjects of the website that we divided by Contact Congress, Recovery Toolkit, we had Facts Not Fear area, we had Working for You, we had Tourism Strong. So we have a newsroom, news briefing resources. So anything that our members need, they have it just like that. Another thing we did, our president actually, he sent out a weekly email, kind of check-in emails to our members. And we've been getting a lot of good feedback on that. And they really appreciate all the work that we're doing on their behalf. But every email was sent with such grateful feedback from our members. That's more of the communication side. And then we have the social media side, right? We've been very active in making sure that we're promoting our members on the social media side. We're posting videos that our members were making just to keep them engaged, and also just make sure that we hear them. And they're getting really creative during that time. And so we were posting all this information. We were promoting a lot of webinars and conferences. So anything that we put together that is of great value, we've been communicating with them tremendously. And then what we also did, knowing that a lot of our members are, they have to furlough staff or let go, we make sure that on social, we communicated with the community and said, hey, listen, if you've been furloughed or if you no longer have a job, give us your Gmail or any other private email that you have. Then we keep them in our database and we make sure that they're getting the communication. Just because they're no longer working doesn't mean you need to cut them off completely. And in that way, they're going to come back. Some of them will come back and others will go to another industry related job. So that was, I think, a great thing that we have done. But government affairs wise, we created pretty much a grassroots template letter and we send it to our members, and that has been making a great impact among legislators and within our membership as well. This is also press releases were sent on behalf of our members. We send congressional representatives. We send a lot of that information. So it's been such a great one, but also you look into partnerships, the partnerships that you have. We partner with industry experts who are generous enough to come in as speakers for webinars and such. So we hold, as we speak right now, our association has another webinar for tour operators with over 400 people signing on. So the registration for webinars has been really skyrocket during this time, because they want to know, this is a time for associations to lead, right? Because they have no other choice. They're in the dark in a way, and this is a time for us to kind of step up and lead, and that's exactly what ABA has done during this time. So we also moved a number of our meetings from the physical place to virtual, and those are the smaller meetings, and we still on schedule for our face-to-face meeting in January. In fact, we opened the registration June 1st, so we're pushing through. Otherwise, we also created task force, because now every week, as you know, those of you who talk to your members on a daily basis, you know that every week their concern has been very different. They're struggling with something new, something different. So now we're working on recovery plan. So we have a task force created within the membership who are putting together on the recovery plan. A lot of the questions that our members are asking right now, the task force is working on it. So that's going to be another important thing to share with our members.
Awesome. Follow-up question for you. You mentioned that you're emailing your members now daily. And someone in the Q&A said, all right, we're doing that right now as well, but we're running out of material. So do you have a strategy or a plan for how long you are going to be contacting them on a daily basis? And how are you making that decision?
That's a good question. It's really, we are fighting to make sure that our industry gets some sort of a stimulus package or some sort of help from the government right now. And that's been the number one fight. We've been fighting for little things along the way, but that's really the big picture. So, since that hasn't happened just yet, and we're working together with other organizations to make that happen, there's always a lot of content that we are using. But in your case, if you don't have that much to share, then You don't have to reinvent everything, right? Just make sure that it's digestible format. I would recommend to make it a digestible format that you can share. If you're sharing something with one group, maybe you can repurpose that to another group with a different messaging, different audience. So that's really what I would suggest. But it's really important to kind of stay on top of the engagement and not to back off just yet, because we're not up and running just yet, right? Business is not up and blooming just yet. So until that happens, it's really important to kind of get engaged, even on social. Maybe you can do it on social. If you feel like there is not too much to send, you don't have to fill it out with fluff. You have to make sure that it's something that they're expecting. Since you talk to them very often, you know exactly their concern. I can tell you this example, if I give an example. A member that I was talking to yesterday, and then another member I was talking to the week before, they were talking about insurance. Hey, what am I going to do? You know, they have these motor coaches in the parking lot and they still have to pay the insurance, which is a lot of money. And what do we do, right? So now I know that's what I'm going to take. I know our task force is working on it, but I'm going to take it back home and say, okay, this is a hot topic. This is what, you know, what members are asking. So just focus on the repurposing of that, I would say.
Fantastic. Sorry, guys, I'm a little distracted because I'm chatting, Q&Ing, and listening all at the same time, and taking notes so that I can write down questions we want to have answered. Lia, you keep mentioning social. What channels are you focusing on, and how did you determine that?
The majority, because we know our audience, you know, the persona that we have a persona for each membership segment. We know exactly our audience. So we have Facebook is the main one. That is the main one that they use. But we have all of, you know, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, I mean, we have LinkedIn. So we have all the channels, YouTube, we have all the channels, but we know for sure Facebook is the #1 for our members because the industry is a little different. You know, it's the tour and travel industry. It's the fun and the seriousness and everything in one. So Facebook is where they live, so to say. And that has been the one that created the biggest impact. I can give you an example, and it's very important to know where your audience is. Not just having a social media channel, but which one is actually the most, the efficient one, or where do they actually live, so to say. And we recently had, for those of you in the Washington, D.C. area might have heard of this on the news, but it was more of a national news. We coordinated a rally together with other organizations, kind of with under Avery's umbrella, and we put together a rally where motor coaches came from all over the country, and they drove all the way from California to come to this rally. And that rally is just really, they were not getting out of their car, they were just circling around the Capitol Hill for a few hours, and so they came all the way just to circle around and go back again. And that shows you, and what we did, our communication, the senior director of our communication department, Melanie Hinton, she was there live and streaming the video and showing, you know, calling every bus with the company name. And it was really one of the most emotional moments in the industry where you see that thing is live streaming. Our members were alive, they were connected, and you can see how they were really living on that moment. So that was really one of the greatest things. So know your audience, know where they are, and that's kind of how you should target it.
That's great. So I keep muting because I'm typing while I'm talking, and I don't want you guys to hear my clickety clacking. I've been accused of being a very loud typer, so I'm gonna try and mute and then unmute as often as I can. All right, thanks, Lia, for sharing that and answering the follow-up questions. Carol, sorry for throwing that curveball at you. I'm gonna let you unmute, and now it is your turn to share. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Carol Cohen with the American Nurses Association. We are a large professional association with individual members, all registered nurses. Now, our situation with COVID-19 has been different, I think, than many associations. Like all of you, we've been dealing with lost event revenue, remote work logistics, but we're also dealing with the very direct impact of this pandemic on our target audience, which is nurses, of course. So it's no surprise that the impact on membership performance has been different too. So in fact, our total membership has grown in April and May, 12% in that 2-month period, driven largely by new member acquisition. Over 23,000 new members have joined ANA in just those 2 months, which has been pretty remarkable for us. Nurses obviously have had really acute needs for information and support these days. And we have really managed to meet those needs in a meaningful way. And that's generated this unprecedented engagement. I would say there are 3 factors that are driving this surge in membership. The first is the high visibility of nursing and ANA in the media and just in this whole situation. Second is how we have quickly developed solutions to help nurses manage the pandemic. And third is effective marketing, which has enabled us to leverage those first 2 into membership growth. Now, one of the first things we did at the start of the pandemic was develop our ANA COVID-19 webinar series. These are on demand, they're free to all nurses, not just members. We didn't start from scratch. We basically repurposed an existing and successful program of free webinars that were designed to deliver targeted content and to generate leads for membership. So in mid-March, we scrapped some planned webinars for the spring and quickly developed different ones that would address the concerns around coronavirus that nurses had. Within 2 weeks, we had the first one ready to go on PPE issues and best practice for nursing. And then we had 2 more by April 15th, and now we're up to 6 in the series. We've widely marketed these webinars, and now we have over 130,000 registrants cumulatively for the series, most of them non-members. And so these are now very warm leads, very receptive to a membership ask. And as an example, we did a targeted membership email to these people and got a 73% increase in our open rate, 89% increase in our click-through rate. And we estimate that 2,600 of them have joined to date. I think the key here is the speed with which we were able to pivot. I know that's an overused word, but it's essentially what we did, to change topics and deliver relevant and timely content when the demand was at its peak, because that demand is not going to last forever. We were able to do that really because we had an infrastructure in place for this content marketing through webinars. Another key driver has been an opportunity that actually just came to us through our foundation. Hilton Hotels wanted to offer 1 million free room nights to frontline healthcare workers who are treating COVID patients. And they wanted to do it by making this offer available to members of 10 to 20 professional associations that they would partner with. We didn't hesitate to jump on this opportunity, even though the Hilton's timeline for getting it up and running was kind of crazy and disruptive really for us. But it was 1 week, and within that week we had the program up and running. The reason was, we recognized that this would address a really critical member need because we had already done a survey where nurses told us that 3/4 of them were concerned about bringing the virus home to their families after work. And this would address that. So it was a 6-week program. It ended on May 31st, and it's been an amazing success. ANA members made 58,000 reservations for 236,000 room nights. And that's 27% of all of the room nights that Hilton gave away for free to different members of different organizations participating. So in addition to providing value to existing members, this program has also driven new member joins. Our website analytics estimate 3,300 new member joins from this program. Last thing I want to mention is membership marketing. Like many associations, we paused that, all of our campaigns at the beginning. Honestly, we resisted this at first. We didn't want to, but we started getting a lot of negative comments on our digital ads, particularly Facebook ads. And it became clear that the environment was just too fraught. Nurses were too stressed and fearful, really, for us to be out there with membership join messaging. So we restarted our membership marketing program after about 2 weeks in mid-April with new creative, those all COVID sensitive. And when we did that, our digital ad campaigns just took off with higher conversion rates and lower costs per member than we'd ever seen. And we realized that we were benefiting from less competition in the marketplace because other online advertisers were still paused. So we were just able to get a lot more attention and lower costs per click. Soon after that came our retooled direct mail and email campaign, which we had paused back in March, excuse me. And with just 2 weeks of results now, our response rate is 5 times higher than a comparable campaign at the same time last year after 2 weeks. So, it's looking like that's going to be really positive too. We have also added COVID-related messaging to all of our retention communications. We switched our monthly member e-newsletter to a weekly timeline, and kept it focused on COVID, very much like Lia was talking about. And we've also extended our grace period for membership renewals. Now, I would just want to point out that there is risk in all of these steps that we have taken. Usually we take a really disciplined approach to testing, and we've just abandoned that when we switched our messaging and made all sorts of changes without testing them. Obviously, that's not best practice marketing, but we felt we had no choice given the circumstances. So now we're in June, and that astronomical pace of joins and member growth that we had been seeing in April and May is definitely coming back to earth. It's still strong, but it's not outrageous. And now our big challenge that we're focusing on is how to make sure we onboard and engage all these new members in a way that will hopefully keep them with us after the pandemic subsides. That's it.
All right, Carol, I think that everybody, all three of you are doing an amazing job. I think Carol wins the volume award with the amazing numbers of members that have come in. I think that's incredible. I have so many questions for all of you, and I want to sort of segue as best as possible with a couple of things that Carol said, but I want to then open it up to everybody to answer. So Carrie, Lia, please feel free. Let's start with what you just mentioned, Carol, which is engagement. There was a question that came in through the Q&A. You've had amazing growth numbers. I think, Lia, you guys have done well. Carrie, you guys have done well. And you've all mentioned engagement. So there's a couple of questions there. One, for the new members, as well as for your current members who are now more engaged, right? I use the word engagement all the time, and in so many ways, it's a buzzword. I've seen communications and conversations about what is engagement? Does it mean that you open an email? Does it mean that you volunteer? Does it mean, what does it mean? So I think that with what has been happening and so many people taking action in, Carol, exactly like you said, this unique time where many of us have smartly thrown Marketing 101 out the window. I don't like having to say that, but I think if we didn't in many ways throw Marketing 1 out the window, we would have not the results that we're having. It's risky because we will never be able to, fortunately, never be able to recreate in so many ways what we're doing right now. We don't want to, right? But so to me, the little nugget out of that is, what have we learned from this and what small things can we pull to make it more successful? But as our members have hopefully needed us more, how are we tracking that engagement? So Carol, I'll put that out to you, and then Carrie and Lia, you guys feel free to fill in.
How are we tracking that engagement? So I think, like many associations, we find tracking engagement sometimes challenging. We have our website metrics, but we don't have as much of a connection with our database where we can capture every engagement point in the database and connect it to the membership record, at least not yet. But we certainly are doing more to onboard these new members. We've added an additional onboarding touch that is really for the people who we knew were joining specifically for issues related to COVID and that Hilton offer, quite honestly. Onboarding efforts that speak directly to them and try to make the connection between, we're here for you now, but we've got a lot more over the coming year after, like I said, after the pandemic subsides. The other thing I would mention is in our online community. We've definitely seen an uptick in activity there, and we're always monitoring that. And we have community moderators to further that conversation. And then likewise in our mentoring program, which is a virtual mentoring program that had been ongoing, we've been in those community discussions trying to encourage the mentors to support the mentees, which are mostly early career nurses, and in dealing with the COVID crisis, and that has been a shift as well.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in there just to add into it. This time for me, it has been about leadership. When people, your members are hurting, you don't go and give them the invoice and say, by the way, here you go. But the political capital that you're gaining from the leadership itself goes a long way, right? So I think this is a time for some strategic priorities. What are your membership strategic priorities right now? And I think has been where the focus should be. If you remember, prior to the pandemic, associations and other companies were talking about disruptors in the last few years. What are the disruptors? We focused on everything else but the pandemic, right? We focused on new players in the market. We focused on technology, innovation. These are the new disruptors in our industry, let alone this one thing came and wiped everybody out. So I think the strategic priorities are changing. And for us, I know the main thing is really how we help our members through government affairs activities. That has been the major thing, because they do have to exist before you start selling them things. So that has been the biggest fight for us. Earlier, you were talking about how do you measure engagement. Engagement, yes, you can do the metrics. You can see how many website visits do you have? Is the message resonating with your audience? You send out your newsletters and webinars. How many people register for your webinars now versus before this? So all of those are really metrics system that you can see the engagement level. But I think, don't forget that the most important part is still just making sure that you run with that momentum gradually. When they open, then that's the time you slide in, anything else that you want. And it doesn't mean don't send them any invoice at all, but it might not be as much, but work with them. Everything is really what you can do right now. Work with them to give them whatever you can so they can move forward to the next step. They can still stay, remain in business. So what we have done is also extended the grace period for our members. We kind of did it in the back without communicating to them on what we have done, because they had bigger issues to worry about, so we wanted them to handle that, and then the communication would go out. But we did that. But also for the first time, something we haven't done before is also installment plans. We gave them the option of quarterly installment plan. If they want anything additional, communicate back with us. We'd be happy to help you. So we're also looking at what should we, what's the right fee right now for these guys, right? So we're working on all of those details, but just remain relevant right now through this, and you will be okay coming out of it. But if you shy away from it, if you just backing off and wait until the new normal kind of is, this new normal is passed, then there will be other players for you who will grab that piece of the pie, so to say.
Hey, Carrie, before you chime in, if you want to chime in, Carol and Lia, you guys both mentioned that you had extended your grace periods. What were they and what are they now?
Ours was a 30-day grace period before. We have extended it 10 days, which is not a lot, but it's as much as we felt we could do because of the additional costs of delivering the journal and so forth. So it has been a small extension. One thing for us is only about 30% of our members pay their dues on an annual basis. And those are the only people who are affected by this grace period. About 70% of our members pay monthly installments. It's automatic on their credit card. And so that's not a concern for them. And I will say, to kind of echoing what you said, Lia, that monthly dues payment option it's always been a really good thing for us, but even more so now. And we are seeing in these new members that are joining, they're joining at a much higher rate paying monthly than we've typically seen in the past. It's easier on your budget.
Carol, do you think that that's the key reason why they're paying monthly? I have always found it interesting that we as people pay almost everything, or almost willing to pay almost everything on a monthly basis. But when our association tries to get us to do it, or when we mention it to our association leadership, they go, "What do you mean? No. I'm like, what? We pay, when there used to be newspapers, we paid for the newspapers monthly. We pay for our cable. We pay for our what? We pay everything." So do you know, or do you have any insights into why your members or new members are so much more cool with doing this when there is a large percentage of associations that would never do it because they don't think that it's the right thing to do for a membership organization, or they have tried it and it just doesn't work? Do you have an idea of why your people are so great with this?
Well, I would say a couple things. One is we market the heck out of it. When we do our membership join marketing, we lead with the monthly rate. Join ANA for $15 a month. We don't lead with the annual rate, and we really do push it. And so I think that's part of it. I think another thing is that for our members, most of them are paying for their dues themselves, not their employer. So I think monthly payment is more appealing and probably just easier from an administrative point of view. And I guess the third thing is we do know for our new members who are joining, they tend to skew younger than our membership overall, than our longer term members, which is probably similar to a lot of associations. And I do think that the younger demographic has a greater comfort with monthly payment for many of the reasons you said, Scott, that our gym memberships and Netflix and everything, we're getting very used to that model.
All right, Lia, I know I had a follow-up for you, so go ahead. And then Carrie, I apologize. I promise I haven't forgotten you about the engagement piece. So Lia, go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention, when it comes to recruitment, we have never been more aggressive than we are right now. As weird as it may sound, but because of the momentum that we have, because of the leadership that we show to our members and the support, we're now getting this kind of focus within the industry and sharing recruitment tips with you. Really, we're sharing the information we've been sharing with our members and say, hey, we want to make sure that we keep you up to date with all the day-to-day information that's, all the events that's unfolding. So we want to make sure that you are kept up to date on these newsletters, and we're getting them on board. And just yesterday we had 17 new members come in, thanks to the great team that we have internally. And so it's it's really a matter of understanding, having the pulse in the industry and what's new, what's current, what's the message that resonates with people right now, and just be there for them. And we talked about this, I think, was it last week, Scott, when we were talking about, okay, now the way we do business has changed forever, like it or not, right? Us right now doing this Zoom call versus, a year ago, maybe this would have been face-to-face or a webinar without the face-to-face meeting, but it has changed how we know it. And for those of us who have kids, next winter, there's a snowstorm. Your kids are not going to have a snow day. They're going to have a Zoom call from home. So there are some things that have changed forever. So I think it's just the good associations and forward-thinking associations are thinking, okay, how can we tap into what's happening right now to our advantage? I think that's the difference, rather than how can we wait and go back to what it used to be. So I think that's just an important thing to keep in mind.
So Lia, what you're telling me is there are some benefits to being older like me, because I actually had snow days, and so I got to miss school every once in a while.
You wish. Those days are gone, Scott.
I know, which is bad for my kids, but it was great for me. All right, Carrie, I'm letting you unmute. There was a lot we covered, so feel free to chime in on any points that were made.
Yeah, well, for engagement, I would say we've never been super good at measuring that, and we're small. So the engagement for us has remained a lot of face-to-face. It's just now Zoom. I feel like I'm on Zoom calls all day long with members, and we have a lot more kind of informal roundtable kinds of discussions that don't have any agenda, that are very time-consuming but really valuable to people because they get a chance to just kind of chat with their peers and find out what other people are doing. So I feel like the engagement has still remained very high. I mean, we certainly do pull stats from people that are using our online community. That's still new to us, so it's a little hard to measure that against any previous history because we didn't have it. You guys talked a little bit about dues. So we just went out for renewal about 2 weeks ago. The way our dues is structured is that a little more than half of our dues comes in as company dues. People pay for their entire staff. And that's been going very well. So far so good. And then the rest are individuals, and I'm a little bit more concerned about individuals. Frankly, a lot of our members are in nonprofits and they've had their budgets cut, like I said. So if they're not having an employer pay their dues, I think that's going to be a challenge. Our dues are about, on average, $300 a year, depending on what someone's job title is. So we have moved to offering both automatic renewal for the first time and a monthly installment plan. We've had a few people start to take advantage of that. I don't know, what the percentage of people taking advantage of it will be, but we went back and forth about whether that should be quarterly or monthly, and kind of had some internal debate about it and decided on monthly. I don't think I'll know really for a few months how things are going to go. And it's fortunate that we weren't in renewal mode at the time that everything first hit, because we spent a good 2 months just doing everything we could to support them through COVID issues, and made everything free and didn't focus on any recruitment at all, to try to make sure that we were there in a time of need. And so we have not attended to recruitment really yet in the way that we normally would this time of year, but we're kind of starting to shift towards that right now.
Okay, Carrie, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being patient. I want to take this conversation someplace where I think is very interesting and important, and there's a lot to be said. As Carol mentioned, and actually as you guys all mentioned, and I have heard out in the marketplace, when coronavirus COVID-19 started, let's just say it that way, we all immediately reacted. Right? We knew what we had to do. We threw some typical decision-making and strategic processes out the window, and we did what we needed to do.
Well,
so my question is to you guys, how do you feel like you have pivoted back to
that's fine, but I think we still need to go this way.
Karen, you're not on mute. We can hear you. Sorry. And, have you guys pivoted back to now digging deeper into what the true ramifications of your decisions have been and how you want to continue to go forward? And I'm not saying there was no strategy involved in the decisions that you did make, but a lot of it was very reactionary. And everything that we've done is going to impact who we are as organizations going forward. So if things have calmed down, which hopefully they have, how are you addressing the fact that you need to be more strategic? Like here, a question came in over the Q&A. you all mentioned that you extended your grace periods. Well, was that, what type of strategic conversation was had around that decision? Or was it, I wish, maybe you guys have this authority or not. Lia, did you say we're extending? Carol, you said extending, and you just went out there, right? So I think we are now at a crucial point where we have to go back to thinking more strategically. Again, I don't want to say you guys aren't at all, but we were in the fire. We're still partly in the fire, but maybe now there's some more breathing room. So how are you, I don't want to say pivot. My brain keeps saying, say pivot, but how are you pivoting from we gotta to we gotta think about it and we gotta do, right? So anybody who wants to answer that. Lia, I see that you unmuted, so go ahead.
Well, part of the strategy is when we send out the what we have done for them as far as renewals, the grace period, it's not just here is the grace period, we have done this for you. No, we're offering them next year's membership as well. So you have to be able to slide in something in there when it comes to list, what you have done for them, but also make sure that you give them a promotion. If you lock in next year, here's what we can do for you for the rest of this year, right? And on that, you can give them the installment plan. You can help them in any way you can, but you definitely have to lock in next year right now, because keep in mind, if the CDC or everyone else keep talking about the second wave is going to be around the corner, you want to make sure that you are covered to survive next year, because this year is this year, but next year is going to be even harder when you're hit with the numbers, when you actually face the reality. So you definitely have to lock in what you can right now, but make sure it has some sort of a promotion with it. Make sure that they understand that you're here for them. You're here to help the industry. You're here. So anything that you can combine would be really helpful for them.
Here, Carol.
Yeah, Scott, your question is actually very timely. We just had a mid-year strategy meeting around our membership marketing last week. And I think both for membership and the organization as a whole, it's clear that, this is not over, it's just changing. We are not moving away from reflecting and speaking about COVID-19 in our messaging, because it's still affecting our members. But we need to change how we do that. And we're continuing to work with our colleagues in policy, in government affairs, and nursing practice to make sure that we are, in tune with what's going on. We're also continuing to do, for example, surveys of not only members, but also non-members to get data about what the issues are that they're dealing with, particularly around PPE, which continues to be a real issue for nurses. And now it's not, do they have it, but are they being asked to reuse it without decontamination, and it's not supposed to be done that way. And we're going to continue to do that so we can get fresh information about how members are affected.
So as far as the grace period, we are small, so we have the ability to be fairly agile, and that is a decision that I can make, fortunately. I have a membership director, and our grace period is typically pretty liberal anyway. I mean, our renewal period begins July 1, and we don't usually start terminations until September, because our members are not very busy over the summer. I don't know yet how long we'll extend that. I think if we get to the point where we would typically be doing terminations and we have people who are struggling, we're going to do our best to follow up individually with them and be very flexible about what that kind of, what individual grace periods or contingency plans can be around their dues to try to keep them involved. As far as, bigger organizational strategy, a lot of it is still COVID related, because our members are still going through that and providing guidance and resources to their own clients and struggling with their plans going forward. So I'd say that we're starting to mix in some new kinds of content and new conversations, but it's still focused quite a bit on COVID and how it's affecting our organizations, because so many of them are struggling financially.
I think that's great. Lia, go ahead.
I was just going to jump in. One of our attendees, David Falchek, he was just mentioning about what kind of membership structure do they have. They have a multi-year membership and auto renewal, and he just mentioned in there that they've been really benefited greatly because of that. And that's a good conversation to have internally too. What kind of membership do you have? Or do you put all of your eggs in one basket? You know, do you just have calendar based? Then if something like this happened, you're going to be done. So I think it's good to look into different options if you're able to do it. And that has benefited us greatly as well. And we have two segmentation as well. So we have a fiscal year membership as well as the calendar year. So that has been, we already collected a majority of the dues for the calendar year. So thank God that we're okay. But again, there's still a way to go. There are opportunities and challenges and everything, but just make sure that you think about it internally, maybe have a discussion on what is the best time to collect dues from your membership segment. So thanks, David.
Yes, thanks, David, for participating and for posting that out there. And thanks for Lia for bringing it to us. All right, my clock says 11:56 California time. So I guess we're approaching 3 o'clock if you're on the East Coast and to 1 o'clock if you're like in Chicago. So we are running out of time. I'm gonna throw it back real quickly. I feel like we could talk about this forever. I feel like there are so many different angles. I wanted to bring up the question of, okay, everybody on the panel keeps bringing up email. We're doing a lot of email. I want to know what else is going on out there. I want to know what people are doing, what people have stopped doing, what is working, what is not. We don't have time for it, but I think that is something we should all think about and continue that conversation, whether it be on Collaborate or any other channels you guys might have. But we've got 3 minutes left, so I'm going to open up for a 1 minute closing. Surprise, you guys, you didn't know this was coming. I'm going to throw this out there for a 1 minute closing for anything that you want to share with the audience. And we'll let Carol go first, and then Lia, I guess you can stay in the middle again, and then Carrie, you'll go last. So Carol, go ahead.
Okay, so in closing, I guess I would say that what this has taught us is what we've learned as in preparing for the CAE, what you do in advance of a crisis, how you prepare before a crisis hits is the best predictor of how you're going to handle that crisis, how effectively. So, the importance of the value proposition and offering relevance to your members and potential members, you've got to have that in place beforehand. And a strong membership marketing program and the willingness to sacrifice process and procedure and control for the sake of speed and nimbleness. I think those have been 3 key lessons for me.
Awesome, thank you. Lia, you got the middle spot.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. This is a perfect time to strategize. It's not too late. If you haven't done too much, you can still jump on that wagon. And this is a perfect time to look internally in your programs and say, should we restructure something? Did it work during this crisis or not? If not, this is also a perfect opportunity to go out and partner with unlikely partnerships and that may have a stake within your industry. So there are a lot of great opportunities in here, but I think it's been a blessing for most of us who are working with other departments as well within the organization to see other people's talent and perhaps what they fit in. And so it's been really such an experience, but there are still a lot of things work to do. Just make sure you're open-minded and take advantage of whether it's crisis or storm or whatever it is. Try to see the opportunity in it and you're going to be good to go.
Okay, Carrie.
Yeah, I would second all that. I mean, taking some big risks for us really paid off. And I think that, this time has provided an opportunity for us to, have some laser focus on what it was we do for our members that's actually valuable to them, what is meaningful to them. And that will certainly affect what we decide to keep within our portfolio going forward. For the coming year, 2 years, we're trying to stay open-minded and flexible because I know that things are still going to change for us. And we're, even organizationally, we're not out of the woods yet. We have a lot of challenges that lie ahead. So even though we've weathered this first few months well, I know that, challenges remain and we're learning from our peers and we're trying to learn from our members too. So I'm hopeful. So I'm gonna leave on a hopeful note, even though we have a lot of challenges, all of us going forward.
Carrie, I think that's a great ending. And I think you slipped in there one thing that I want to reiterate, which is staying on top of what our members need and knowing what's going on, right? We have had to very closely pay attention or pay very close attention to what our members and our industries need right now. I think we always should, but that is something that slips through the cracks sometimes. And so our messaging has changed. In some ways, our offerings have changed. All of those things have had to change, and we've done a very good job with that. So I think that that is something that if you want to say that's a lesson learned, sure, that's going to be key going forward, especially when none of us have the crystal ball as to what coronavirus, what COVID-19 and its impact is going to have. I mean, there's a million questions that I wrote down about what are we doing about virtual events versus in-person events? Are we having them? Are we not? How are we forecasting how many people? Or what do we do about sponsorships in a virtual world? We're down that road right now, but we need to stay on top of what may be coming and what sort of the voice of the member is going forward. That is very, very critical to all of us. So, Carrie, thank you very much for bringing that up. And I want to thank all of the panelists, Lia, Carol, Carrie, thank you guys so much for participating. You provided some awesome information, some great Q&A. Thanks everybody who attended. And one last little PSA. This webcast is, as I mentioned, has been recorded. It's going to be posted on the ASE website within a week. And to further this conversation, this program that ASA has been doing, there are 3 programs that are coming up. Wednesday, June 11th, 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern. The topic is, sorry, I got to make my screen a little bit bigger so I can actually see it. The case for sunsetting programs, crisis response, or level setting. Registration is currently open. Friday, June 12th, 2 to 3:30, exploring anger, frustration, and hopelessness from COVID-19 to George Floyd. Registration is also already open. And then Friday, June 26th, from 2 to 3:15 Eastern, evolving legal considerations during COVID-19, ask the association attorney. Registration is not yet open, but it will be open shortly. So again, thanks everybody. Thank you for coming. Let's please keep this membership conversation going. I think it is so important and there's so much for all of us to share and to learn. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks to you, Scott, for all the work you put together. So we're grateful.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Carol, that's a good question.
I think I'm going to go.
All right. Well, thanks, you guys. We'll catch up if we need to catch up.
Yeah, I don't hear anybody. Okay.
No. All right. Goodbye. Have a great rest of your day, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye. Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.